I'm Seher Zama. We're making a start with a slew of controversial remarks that are being made by BJP leaders in the build-up to the Delhi Assembly elections. After Kapil Mishra's India-Pakistan analogy and Goli Maro chants that are being raised, that have now been seen at Union Minister Anurag Taku's rally as well. Added to that list is BJP MP Parvesh Verma's controversial remark on the Shaheen Bagh protesters. BJP MP from West Delhi, Parvesh Verma, said that people who have gathered at Shaheen Bagh will rape and kill women. Parvesh Verma is the son of the former Delhi Chief Minister Sahib Singh Verma. We should remember these remarks by him and other BJP leaders are coming in this election season heating up in Delhi. The opposition is slamming them for lowering the discourse. The Election Commission has also now called for a report regarding Anurag Taku's rally and had earlier barred the BJP candidate Kapil Mishra for 24 hours from campaigning.
वहां पे लाखों लोग इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं और वो आग कभी भी दिल्ली के घरों तक पहुंच सकती है, हमारे घर में पहुंच सकती है। ये दिल्ली वालों को सोच समझ के फैसला लेना पड़ेगा। ये लोग आपके घरों में घुसेंगे, आपकी बहन बेटियों को उठाएंगे, उनको रेप करेंगे, उनको मारेंगे। इसलिए आज समय है। कल मोदी जी नहीं आएंगे बचाने, कल अमित शाह जी नहीं आएंगे बचाने। आज समय है। आज अगर दिल्ली के लोग जाग जाएंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा। वो अपने आप को सुरक्षित आज भी महसूस करते हैं और वो तब तक केवल सुरक्षित महसूस करेंगे जब तक देश के प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी हैं। अगर कोई और प्रधानमंत्री बन गया देश का तो देश की जनता अपने आप को सुरक्षित महसूस नहीं करेगी।
This remark of Parvesh Verma comes in very close after, in fact, just a day after he had said that if he came to power in Delhi, he will raise all mosques that are built on government land.
अगर दिल्ली में मेरी सरकार बन गई तो 11 तारीख के बाद केवल 1 महीने का समय मुझे दे देना। मेरी लोकसभा में जितनी मस्जिद सरकारी जमीन पर बनी है, 1 महीने के अंदर एक मस्जिद आपको नहीं छोड़ूंगा।
The other leader this campaign season, and this is now Union Minister of State for Finance and Corporate Affairs Anurag Taku, on Monday was heard leading the crowd into slogans saying "Desh ke gaddaron ko goli maro." The crowd ended the slogan there by responding "Goli maro." When asked about the rally, he told reporters here to watch the entire video. The opposition, though, has hit out at the BJP regarding Anurag Taku's remark here.
गोली मारो, देश के गद्दारों को पीछे तक आवाज आनी चाहिए, गिरिराज जी को सुनाई दे। देश के गद्दारों को, देश के गद्दारों को, देश के गद्दारों को,
देश के गद्दारों को गोली मारो। तो ये गद्दार कौन है, हम आपसे जानना चाहते हैं।
मुझे लगता है कि आप पहले पूरा वीडियो देखें और दिल्ली की जनता का मूड क्या है उसको देखें।
It actually is inciting violence. And I'm surprised that neither the police has taken action, nor are the courts cognizant of any of this, nor is any suo motu action being taken by the Election Commission. So where is this nation going?
जिस तरह से दिल्ली में प्रचार करते समय केंद्रीय मंत्री अनुराग ठाकुर जी ने लोगों को गद्दार कहा, जूते मारने की बात करवाई, हमें लगता है ये दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। लेकिन ये कहीं ना कहीं उनकी सोच है। लगातार वो देश में मुसलमानों को, सिखों को, ईसाइयों को और विरोधियों को गद्दार का सर्टिफिकेट बांटते आए हैं, गरियाते रहे। हमें लगता है दिल्ली की जनता बीजेपी को सबक सिखाएगी।
I strongly condemn this statement and I condemn the content, the tone and tenor of this statement. It is not this particular person, starting from Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah to the MOS Finance Anurag Taku. They are all making highly provocative statements and they try to create the CAA as an Hindu-Muslim issue.
The Delhi Chief Electoral Officer has stepped in now, has sought a report from the returning officer of Rithala constituency. This is regarding the Union Minister and the BJP MP Anurag Taku's speech at this election rally. Let's now get to the big focus on the big story this afternoon. This is regarding an American NGO which has now shared data with the Indian government. These are alarming figures. About 25,000 cases of suspected child pornographic material which has been uploaded across social media platforms, and this is barely in a span of 5 months. According to the media reports here, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or which is known as the NCMEC in the US, has shared this data with the National Crime Records Bureau of India. This report puts Delhi on top of the list of states from where such content is being uploaded, followed and shared, followed by other states such as Maharashtra, Gujarat and West Bengal. Let's get in further inputs. My colleague Tanima with those details, all else that has been specified in this data that has been shared in this report by the US with the government of India.
That's right. In fact, it's not just a small number. It's around 25,000 cases which has been highlighted by this US NGO, which has shared the data with our government, which has, of course, passed it on to the National Crime Records Bureau, which is the repository of all these records. Now, what are some of the salient features of this report which has been shared by the US NGO? The first point, of course, is that 25,000 cases have, in fact, been highlighted, which are suspected to be child porn material, which has been uploaded over the past 5 months from different parts of the country. Now, the US Center has shared these details with the National Crimes Records Bureau, as I mentioned. In that list, there are states from which have been highlighted, from which this objectionable material has in fact been uploaded. So as per that list, Delhi tops the list of states uploading child sexual abuse material. There are other states also which have been flagged off, like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. They are also on top of this list which has been shared by the US NGO. Several cases have in fact been filed basis this. So the Indian government actually took note of this report. It passed it on to the National Crime Records Bureau and also sent it across to the different state police departments in order to verify these the data which has been shared, and also any kind of information or evidence which was shared which was actionable, basis which cases were filed and arrests were made in several parts of the country. And as we know that in fact in Maharashtra alone, there were 1,700 cases, out of which several cases had in fact been converted into FIRs and arrests were made. Seher.
Tanima, thanks for getting us those inputs so far of what has been known. But remember, these are figures essentially having been shared by this US NGO. Let's also get in a word here from the expert we have with us this afternoon, Mr. Siddharth, who's the co-director of Aramb India. Mr. Siddharth, appreciate you being with us. Are these figures alarming to you, or do you think that these are 25,000 of these videos shared in a span of just 5 months? There could be more to this. There could be more information to this, or what has been indicated by this US NGO.
Yeah. Hi, Seher. Yeah. So definitely, this is certainly like a wake-up call, but also one needs to sort of start with this argument that we are a country where, as per the last sort of research, 53% of children were sexually abused, right? So there is definitely like a culture of abuse in this nation. And when sort of like internet was sort of introduced in this country, so for the past few years, a few people who are working in civil society in this space have been raising their voices that this is a problem that is going to sort of rise exponentially, and it's going to be a big problem in the coming future, with sort of internet rates going down, internet penetration increasing. So definitely the figure is shocking, but definitely one can't, one cannot say that this was not expected.
Okay. Interestingly, close on the heels of this report now being shared with the government of India and now in the public domain here as well, the parliamentary panel in India has also come up with a string of recommendations on how this can be controlled. I'm going to go across to my colleague Tanima and come back to you, Siddharth, with your views on this. Tanima, help us understand what have been the parliamentary panel recommendations. Okay, we're going to be reconnecting with her on that in just a bit. But Siddharth, this is something that has been spoken about earlier as well. The government of India has shown concerns about this earlier. A gist of what the parliamentary panel recommendations have been also to break into the encryption code on several of these social media platforms. Do you think that this should have been something implemented on ground much before. These were recommendations that should have come in much earlier, not triggered essentially by this report.
I mean, one has to be like, just because like this is a big figure, when sort of, one sort of reacts to it, one must sort of take into account all the sort of various repercussions on, society. Because, if you remember when the porn ban happened, right? When 800 websites were put on a porn ban list, that's when like a lot of Indian children discovered how to use a VPN, right? So now if you're going to stop, like, I don't know, like, like if you're going to stop sort of go against encryption, like you're going to sort of lead the children to some website that will have an encryption. So I don't see how this sort of like knee-jerk reaction, without sort of taking into account the nature of the internet and also the possible effects of where this sort of decision will lead the children to.
Right. Adding to that information here, Tanima, if you could get in some specifics on what these parliamentary panel recommendations are and to what extent these can be implemented, because this would mean getting in a lot of social media giants on board to take into account what the government of India wants here.
That's right. In fact, there are very detailed recommendations which have been given by this parliamentary panel. And in fact, this data, of course, which the US Center has shared, is data of the past 5 months of objectionable material, which they have in fact tracked, which have been uploaded, specifically related to child pornographic material. But nonetheless, this comes pretty close to the fact that the parliamentary panel of Rajya Sabha has in fact also given out a slew of recommendations for the government to follow on how to tackle the problem of child pornography. If we go into some of the salient points or the recommendations which have been given, now the panel has in fact called for mandatory monitoring of apps. So this is of course because of the fact that the panel is focusing on not just controlling how this information or this material rather is being distributed, but also in terms of the target, being that children are in fact in a way being abused through this. So monitoring of apps is mandatory as per the recommendation by this panel. The panels also recommended broader definition of child pornography. This is of course in order to bring more people into the ambit of law when it comes to pornography, specifically the online sites which are carrying these this kind of material. Restricting generation and dissemination of child porn. So as I mentioned, that this is not just about in a way catching the people who are distributing this kind of material, but also the fact that dissemination or distribution, which is in a way aided by these websites, that also needs to be curtailed in a way, making internet service providers accountable. So that's also another important point, as I was mentioning, that they want to ensure that it's not just the people that the police arrest or pick up, those who are uploading these items on websites, but also the fact that there are certain servers which are hosting them or certain sites which are hosting this kind of material that needs to be in a way controlled. Ensuring that online platforms remove obscene content. So as soon as something is flagged off, there should be immediate action in terms of that website actually taking it off their platform. Going to the following point. Clause to be inserted in POCSO Act prescribing code of conduct for online platforms. Now this is in the legal aspect of things again, that there should be a clause which the panel recommends should be added in the POCSO Act, which in a way is specifically related to child pornographic material being uploaded on the internet. So that also needs to be added so that people can in fact be booked under that act. School management should be responsible for safety of children within schools. So as I mentioned, that the focus of the panel's recommendations is also to protect the children who are targets, who are victims in this case. So in some cases, of course, instances have been seen, the children are mostly children spend large amount of their time either in schools or in their home. So schools also, the management needs to be put into the brought into the ambit of the law. Centers shall be empowered to block all sites that carry child sexual abuse material. And also if we go into the following point, now this is important, as we said, law enforcement agencies should be permitted to trace end-to-end encryption and to track down distributors. So this is essentially done in order to make sure that the law enforcement agencies, police departments from across different parts of the country can in fact track down the people who are actually distributing this material. So for that they need to have access to end-to-end encryption in order to get to those people. Seher.
Okay. All right. Tanima, thanks for getting us all of those inputs. It was important to go through these pointers here to also look at to what extent all of these are workable on ground. In fact, let's get in Nirali Bhatia, cyber psychologist, with us over the phone line. Mr. Bhatia, thank you for being with us. When these are a list of recommendations here, which is breaking end-to-end encryption, monitoring of apps, making internet hosts accountable here as well, how much of this do you think can really work on ground? Because we've seen in earlier cases, and these have been in other international terrorism cases here as well, that breaking into a system then becomes a domain of the service providers and various social media platforms who then refuse to give in this nature of information which is required.
So, if we look at it holistically, it's quite ironic because with internet there's always been anonymity, and now with all these recommendations, there are going to be people are not going to be easily agreeing to this, though it's in the best interest. But yes, there is always going to be that wave that freedom of speech and the right to privacy, etc., etc. Now, my basic question is that we do not even have a base parameter where we can, or any of these social media giants can even verify whether the user is of a minimum applicable age. So here the recommendations are far-sighted. We are expecting a lot of work from the service providers and from these social media app providers. But even if you have to start at a very base level where it says that, okay, you have to be of a certain age. Let's say, for example, Facebook and Instagram, 13 and 16 years is the age that is required for you to be on this medium. So even that, the most basic thing is yet not in place. So these are really, really very far-sighted. They are the need of the hour. I do not deny that. But making them practically possible, I don't know. When is it going to? It looks like a far-fetched dream. I believe.
But Ms. Bhatia, this is a grave issue to be expecting a lot of social media platforms to come on board to rein this in is a bare minimum expectations that a lot of responsible social media platforms should come on board as well. While a lot of the government recommendations to many experts such as you seem far-fetched here, appreciate you speaking to us here. While some of these recommendations would seem far-fetched, but the alarming figures here that are coming in, if you have 25,000 of these child pornography and abuse videos uploaded mainly from the national capital in a span of 5 months, much more that needs to be taken into account, specifically by social media giants as well, to be responsible about this. Thank you for being with us. And on the Delhi election focus here, we are taking into account several issues that voters are raising. Shutters down, showrooms empty. There is business down by more than 50%. This is the impact of the slowdown in one of Asia's largest furniture markets, which is located in Delhi. The traders who form a key voting segment in Delhi, they have had to cut costs to sustain businesses. But with these elections here, Amita Balachandra, correspondent, finds out what their demands are in the area. What can the Delhi government here do, the next Delhi government, to take into account their losses?
Near empty streets and empty showrooms, the once bustling markets Kirti Nagar, also known as Asia's largest furniture market, has lost its luster.
Kirti Nagar in West Delhi and Janakpuri's Jail Road used to be packed with buyers, especially on weekends. That has gradually decreased over the last few months with a slump in consumer spending. Furniture sellers complain that business has gone down by over 50%.
बाजार में पैसा नहीं है लोगों के पास, इतना फंड नहीं है जो कि जिस हिसाब से परचेज करे और अपना काम कर सके। अब पैसे की शॉर्टेज करके मार्केट में कस्टमर भी नहीं है। अब यही उम्मीद होती है कि चलो जी नेक्स्ट थोड़ा सा ठीक हो जाएगा, दिवाली है ठीक हो जाएगा, नेक्स्ट ईयर आएगा, चलो त्यौहार आएंगे जब ठीक हो जाएगा। बाकी ऐसा कुछ नज़र नहीं आ रहा।
In fact, the furniture market has been one of the worst hit in the manufacturing sector and has witnessed a lower growth in 2019 when compared to 2018. A direct fallout has been job losses.
बस चल रहा है, काम कम हो गया. जैसे मान लीजिए पहले 12 घंटे काम होता था, लेबर वगैरह करते थे, ओवर टाइम लगते थे, वो ओवर टाइम वगैरह कम हो गया, बंद हो गया. देखिए ट्रेडर्स के लिए तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट यही मुद्दा है कि उनका व्यापार फले फूले, व्यापार बढ़े, और इनफैक्ट सब जुड़े हुए हैं उसी से. व्यापार से ही मेरे ख्याल से सारी इकोनॉमी जुड़ी हुई है, पूरी अर्थव्यवस्था जुड़ी हुई है. तो ये सबसे अहम मुद्दा है मेरे ख्याल से, और इस पर चाहे पार्टी कोई भी हो उनको ध्यान देना चाहिए.
पहले जो काम होते थे कोई के आधा काम अब नहीं है.
क्या क्या काम होता था, कितने दिन?
यही पेटी के काम होते थे. पहले पेटी मान के चलो 100 पेटी बनती थी, अभी 25 पेटी नहीं बन रही है.
पहले मैडम 8 लोग थे और अभी क्या है 3 लोग हैं बस. काम की ये पॉलिसी क्या करे, आगे काम होगा तभी रख पाएंगे, नहीं तो हम यही कहाँ से देंगे.
काम बिल्कुल कम हो गया है, बिल्कुल ही कम है. शादी के सीज़न में 2-4-10 दिन लग जाता है, काम हो जाता है, उसके बाद बिल्कुल ही काम नॉर्मल हो गया है.
पहले कितना कमाते थे, अभी कितना?
पहले 1800 हो जाता था, मुश्किल से 300-400, बड़ी मुश्किल से होता है.
While Delhi's gross domestic product shows an increase from 6.25 lakh crores to 7 lakh crores from 2017 to 2018, traders say that the last 1 year has been particularly bad with ceilings, slowdown and GST. They believe that people are prioritizing needs over wants, and hence the buying sentiment has taken a backseat.
नहीं, कोई सुनने वाला नहीं है, कोई कुछ नहीं है. गवर्नमेंट को जीएसटी चाहिए कि कितनी कलेक्शन हो रही है, बाकी काम के लिए कोई देखने वाला नहीं है.
जिस तरह से उठान आम पार्टी का चल रहा है और बीजेपी की टक्कर है, उसके अंदर तो हम कुछ बता नहीं सकते क्या हो सकता है. लेकिन इनके आने से भी कुछ ऐसा फ़र्क नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि जिस तरह से चेनिंग नोटबंदी और इसके अंदर जो बिल्कुल मार्केट की कंडीशन ख़राब हुई है, अब ये तो वक्त ही बताएगा कि क्या हो सकता है.
While businesses are down more than 50% and many traders are having to cut cost, more than 15 lakh traders here in Delhi who form a significant influence group in Delhi politics say that their demands cannot be ignored. With video journalist Sudhir, this is Samantha Balachandra for Mirror Now.
Remember how we talked about the GDP and the fact that it's a number which tells us the size of our economy? Now, the first question that arises is the fact that when you read about it in the papers or you see it on the news, you don't see an absolute number, you see a percentage. Now, that simply means that it is the GDP growth that we're talking about. Look at it with this example. Let's say your old salary was 10,000 rupees. And your new salary is 11,000 rupees. This means it's an increment that you got of 10%. Now, if you were to explain to somebody what your salary is, what your new salary is, and you tell them it was 11,000 rupees, it's not going to help anybody understand how much it has gone up by unless you give them the reference of this 10%. Now, similarly, for the GDP, until and unless you know how much it has grown by what percentage, you don't get an idea of the health of the economy. So, for example, in July to September 2019, the GDP grew at 4.5%. This means that what it was in July to September 2018, from there it has grown 4.5% to July to September 2019. Now, this is really important because it means that, for example, if a few years ago our GDP was growing at say 7 to 8% and now it's growing only at 4.5 or 5%, we're in the midst of an economic slowdown. Hence, it is very important to track this GDP growth number to tell us how we stand and where we stand as an economy and how big or how fast the economy is actually growing.